I don't see you as president. I see you as like a dictator. I think you do way better. You're dressed like Gaddafi already. Like I feel like you would do perfect.
And I think it ended really well for him on that weekend at Bernie's Jeep ride, where they jostled his dead body about in the desert. Am I still in charge?
That's what happens when you have female security. You know what I mean? That was his issue. That was his whole thing. He only had hot models blocking him. Like that's not gonna work. You know?
Have you ever seen like a Colonel Gaddafi addressing like some Arab summit where it's like all the leaders of the Arabian nations and they're going, listen, we need to fucking step up because the West's getting proper leery, you know? So like they've killed Saddam Hussein. I don't know who's going to be next. Yeah. Well, we do now.
Yeah.
Poor old Colonel Gaddafi jostled along all naked and dead. Shouldn't have happened. It's out of order. It's a human being with rights and feelings. I apologise for that. But you did put him in a comedic position when you said I look like a dictator.
I'll take
That's what we do here.
Yeah.
That's what we do
That's
here.
what you're just
I mean, you
delivering.
get it. You're the guy who went to MTV dressed as Bin Laden on September 12th. You get it.
It was too soon.
I loved
it was too soon. That was too soon.
Had you done it today?
Comedy's timing.
It would have killed.
You don't do that yet. That was too soon. I apologise again.
But in hindsight, with 20 years past or whatever, pretty funny.
I mean, yeah.
Well,
Ballsy, if nothing else.
That's exactly the argument I made in the tribunal. I said in 20 years' time, there will be streaming services that will look upon me as a kind of prophet dictator. Then who will be laughing? Yeah.
I think we gravitate towards leisure.
Yeah, leisure.
And I think leisure.
Potato. Yeah, people want to chill.
I think that if you look at the course of history, you see ancient societies and what they gravitate to. And I'm shocked that like the British haven't figured this out yet because they've been around the world, they've seen everything in the world, and they still keep working for some reason. But like you look at Italian, you look at the Greeks. The Greeks are literally just going to go, okay, we're not going to work. And then Germany's like, do we have to bail them out again? They're like, can you? And they're like, fine. And then they just keep not working. They don't change a single thing because they understand it's fun to hang out with your family, eat nice cheese, drink nice wine, enjoy the beach. Italians, same thing. This idea that the French take fucking months off in the summer to do something. This is like novel to Americans because we're young, we're immigrants, right? We're trying to get the money. I think eventually we all gravitate towards the things in life that we actually do value, which is time with the people you love and indulgences, but not to a point where they are addictions. You can't, like indulging in a sunset. Can you get addicted to it? No. But it's important.
What a lovely person. Because what you're describing, of course, is freedom, that people want to be free. And what I, like as a touring comic, what I've noticed when you're, like, and it's mostly in my country because I've not been out traveling and stuff, but like what I've learned from people is people want to be left the fuck alone.
Yeah.
They want to be left alone. Just leave people alone and let them live. Now that sort of tends towards the kind of, your national political rubric, the kind of Republican right-wing small government stuff. But without, like, the argument between the communists and the anarchists is that without some sort of centralized state power, the people have no true representative against the might of corporate and financial interests. But of course, where we find ourselves now is that the state and the corporate world are essentially in alliance, so that people have no representation anyway.
Well, you don't need the state. You need, I guess the unions is the equal and opposite reaction to corporate power.
I reckon you're right, Andrew. I reckon that there needs to be a confederacy of delegated power where the true democracy can operate. So this community, like where you have true confederacies and assemblies where people say, this is how our community want to run things. This is how, but there is a necessity for some municipal governance. There is a requirement for roads need to be run. There needs to be some understanding of military, of law and order. But my sense is that, and when they've tried these experiments, there's been some success, is that if you allow people to govern their own communities, they do it relatively successfully. And the thing that perhaps agitates me more than anything else about our current establishment and our current system is the assumption at its heart of misanthropy, that people are not good, that people are stupid.
What is misanthropy?
Misanthropy is a hatred of people.
Okay.
Like that, meaning that they don't like us. They think we're stupid. They think we're dumb. They think we can't run our own lives. That's what bugs me most of all. That with the whole censorship of the left thing, that people aren't able to watch something and go, oh, that's probably a joke, or that's not a joke, but I don't agree with it.
You're almost infantilizing people.
Infantilizing us, keeping us numb and dumb and consuming. So we're just a node at the end of the line. All you are is that you're just there to consume sugary food and sugary shit. No control over your own community. And what you described there, that model where people just live their lives according to their fucking will and their freedoms and spend time with their family, that's not ridiculous. That's what basically everybody wants, I think.
But how do you afford that?
How do you afford it?
Because the countries that are doing that are not in the best economic state, though they might be in the best emotional state.
Well, because you have to look at what the economic history of that situation is. And like there was after the 2008 crash where the Democrat Party bailed out the banks in a way that was a fundamental betrayal of the entire ethos that they purported to have. And in my opinion, laid the pathway for Trump's ascendancy.
Yeah.
What happened in Europe at that time is there's the rising of populist British party, or not British, excuse me, European parties. There was Syriza in Greece, like this dude called Yanis Varoufakis and his partner. They were elected on a popular mandate of basically, we ain't fucking paying them banks back. They all fuck off. Right? And they got to, the people elected them. They went to the EU. The EU went, you're fucking giving us that money. It's over. And that Yanis Varoufakis, who ran it, you should have him on one time. Like when he came on, he said that when he went to the EU, he said he realised no one in the establishment has any real power except for the power afforded to them by their role, i.e. the President of the United States or the head of the EU. If he just goes, free money, or if he goes like, there's a spring break, like you can't do that shit. You can only do what is prescribed. That means the system will always preserve itself. If you ever try to act against the interests of the system, you would be removed from your position.
That's the whole point of, I'm not saying this to say that, but that it has to be that way. That's the point of a government.
Yes.
I can't allow a person to usurp the government. That's a coup.
Yes.
It's inherently not going to happen.
System is self-preserving above all else. So when you grant systems more power, it exacerbates and continues. This is why something like the pandemic was interesting, because it inherently granted more power to the government that will unlikely be rescinded. State power increased, corporate opportunity increased, the wealth transfer took place. Any situation that's beneficial to the most powerful interests in the world is, by definition, advantageous. And it's, I don't know, would that mean that they would prolong it? Would they see it as an opportunity? Do the government and financial interests act in accordance with the will of ordinary people? These are all questions for people to consider. And I suppose, really, it's not like there's a philosopher called Mark Fisher. He's a British political philosopher. He's dead now, killed himself. So I suppose his ideas didn't work on a personal level. But it's tough at the top. But David Foster Wallace, he was a pretty good writer. But in the end, I'm out. Even he couldn't read that whole thing. Oh, fucking hell. Infinite jest, too literal. Mark Fisher says that he coined the term late capitalism. It's like we cannot even envisage a culture beyond it. We can't even imagine what it would look like. That's its greatest triumph, to rob us of the ability to sort of go, well, what if it was like European people and we just fucking eat long into the evening and we hang with our kids? And then immediately we do their argument for them. But how do you economically underwrite that? Hold on a minute. How did the most resource-rich continents and nations in the world end up the poorest ones? How the fuck did that happen? How did that happen? It was the British. We did it. But that shows you that imaginary faith-based systems usurp practical ones. It don't matter they got all these fucking diamonds and gold and agricultural land. All the rich people in some cold country in northern fucking Europe. The one, interestingly, where their use of Christianity is the individualized Protestant work-based one rather than the Catholic
communal-based one.
Exactly.